In this house, the most dire, horrible events took place.
Be my victim.
Through watching scenes of violence, through watching scenes of transgression, through watching scenes of horror. There's an enormous amount of sort of abattoiral excess.
Oh, fuck off.
What on earth?
What's the problem? What? Okay, fine. Okay,
Stop
he's
it.
gone. He's gone.
Stop it.
Are you happy
Stop
now?
it. No.
Unacceptable. Jeez Louise.
You are unbelievable.
Oh, you guys are going to hate July. I'm gonna
Oh my
level
god.
with you.
I'm just
Oh, no.
watching it back on the replay.
Why would you do this to me? I don't understand.
Oh.
And
Why
don't
are you
let
trying
me
to
know
get me on?
beforehand? If this is to wind up Haryan, at least let me know beforehand.
I thought you'd get into it. I thought I'd win you over.
No, I won't.
You're not going to hop on the Shum train?
If anything, I am hopping off.
Oh dear. Have I won any of you over? Any of you?
I am jumping off while that trolley is moving towards all 5 people with Haryan up by the lever doing nothing.
Multi-track drifting.
Oh, I knew Haryan would be tugging that lever watching that. So
Oh, I'm gonna kick your ass.
is that how the trolley problem works?
John Gorris in the chat is July Gay Horror Month.
It might be, but the way that I would talk about it might not be quite in line with what's expected for that month. So, Bilbo's got it. Absolutely. We are now in the Shum zone. Hop aboard. Choo choo. But before any more of that...
But don't bonk me. I'm not the horny one in here. I'm not the one making that video. I'm not the one doing that intro.
I did so much research for that, guys. You know, I have some respect. But before we drift further down the line towards Shumville, we're going to shift things up a bit. There's lots to talk about, and we're going to get it out nice and early. And the number one priority is announcing a happy birthday to one of our regular viewers. No one's asked for their birthday to be celebrated before, and frankly, I wish you would do it. If your birthday's coming up, drop us a line. I'll happily say hi to, and many happy returns to any of our regulars. And that would be Richard. Richard, you in the chat, mate? It's coming up on Saturday, yes? Is that right?
That's what he said.
Happy birthday, Ricardo.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
I'm not saying
to you.
Oh,
Come on.
no.
Happy birthday to you.
You can carry it.
That's going to be a copyright issue.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. All right. I know if Richard's in the chat, but if you are, mate, happy birthday. Thanks for sticking by us. Always good seeing you in here. Something else to discuss is there's big moves on your channel, TCG.
My one? Yeah. So I have a live stream channel now, which you can subscribe to. I've just dropped the link in the in the chat. I did some Wolf Among Us streams over the last week or so, and my audience has spoken. I have lost about 20 subscribers, but I think what it's to do with it's about time that I separated the main content from the other bits on the side. So the live stream channel, That Crime Guy Live, will specifically have crime related sort of gameplay stuff that I was doing on the main one, as well as the Laughing at the Florida Man streams. And I'm so glad Maverick Hunters is in the chat tonight, because while I was doing the Wolf Among Us streams, he said something, it stuck with me. I'm rebranding those streams to freaking Florida Man Fridays.
Oh, it's good. It's
So
catchy.
yeah, guys, if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to that as well. It would really help. That was to do with me LARPing as a furry, gently benevolent. I've told you, don't call him that. Bigby is not a furry. He doesn't wear the suit. He's a literal wolf.
That makes him sound like a mega furry, to be fair.
Okay, ultra mega furry then. Okay.
It
Degenerate.
used to be such a family-friendly stream.
Is
Apart
TC
from
Joy
that
going to
intro.
join the VTuber harem? Harem? Nah, who knows?
Is Bigby a crinkle?
If someone makes me a good enough,
Haryan, do not bring that degeneracy in. No, I have my limits, sir.
Wow, I see how it is. We're allowed sexy men, but not allowed to talk about crinkling. Ugh.
Good. Oh, people are doing it. Well done, Nima. You're on board. That is fantastic. So it's That Crime Guy Live. Follow the link, and you'll be grand.
I'll be sprucing up the banner and avatar for that channel as well to differentiate the two. And Proper Horror Show is kindly again going to be drafting it up as well. So thank you for that.
No worries. Looking
Proper
forward
Horror
to
Show is
it.
getting drafted.
She's getting drafted. That's it.
Wow.
The
Jeez.
chants are changing. I've got a ton of announcements. So Haryan, do you want to get in there? Do you want to do some announcements quickly?
I'm
Anything
doing
you want
this.
to chill?
Yeah, give me a sec. Jeez, God, why are you rushing me?
No, Haryan, now or I'm bringing you back. We'll get more.
Oh no,
Shum.
okay. Oh jeez, okay, right. Firstly, there's an hour-long video that's currently uploading to my channel. It's got half an hour left. In half an hour, leave this live stream and go watch that video for an hour. Don't really do that. That's me. But it's about Patriotic Alternative having an expose made on them by Channel 4, and Channel 4. There's a lot of ammo. There's a lot of ammo that Patriotic Alternative give out for free, and somehow Channel 4 miss most of it. So I've covered that basically, and also Laughing at the Guardians, 3 years old this week. Well, I'm doing the 3rd anniversary live stream. Technically, it's 3 years old about 5 days ago.
Oh,
So it will be a big old stream there on the Saturday, and I don't know who the guests are yet. Hopefully, I can get Merc. Hopefully, I can get Tailed Feature. If not, I'll just get a shed load of people on. Who knows? Whoever's free Saturday can come along.
Sounds like a
So
plan.
there you go. It will be fun, I'm sure.
Excellent.
Right.
And okay, so for announcements on this end, well, one, I might be inspired to copy TCG and do some shuffling around of the old channels. But something that we can do, I'm so excited about this. I think that on Thursday, I am actually going to be able to release the massive video that I've been working on. I mean, it's not like Mauler long, but I'm pretty happy about it. I'm pretty happy about it. This beast, yeah, it's an hour long, as I expected, because I reference so many movies in that, as well as make some unconventional usage of a pop song. I got smacked with the copyright claims quite brutally. I've got most of them cured, but to be honest, I think there's only one left. I'll chance it. I think we can have ourselves a bit of a party on Thursday premiering. So I'm going to premiere this Thursday, probably same time I usually do these, about 8 p.m. So I hope you guys can make it. It'll be fun. I'll be there in the chat. We'll have a laugh. And you can bully me for my interpretations. And the other thing, you don't know how much I cut out. You don't know how much was cut out of this. Also, make your own jokes based off that comment. But never mind.
Oh no! Oh no!
No. For all the memeing, this is it is a balanced video as best as I can make it. I've had good feedback from people who have subscribed on Subscribestar. They've managed to see it already. So that, that's people from both perspectives. So I'm pretty happy about this. And moving on to the more standard YouTube shilling, I do, of course, have the Subscribestar where you'll be able to see things like this in advance. But I've also activated the old YouTube memberships. I believe you should be able to click the join button on this very video. Yes, you can. Okay. I was
Man.
actually
Wait,
advised to. Yeah. I can see it. It is
Yeah,
never
it's there.
subscribed. So, yay.
Huh.
I was actually advised to do this a while ago. I know not everyone wants to do subscribe star. I'm sorry it took me so darn long. And of course, I'm shy about the shilling. I'm getting it out early. And I'm basically doing the shilling because there are ambitious projects that I want to do. They will require a bit of money for me to make them happen. And I figure that is why I'll see how much support there is for that. That is mostly the secret project that I've talked about and that I will probably actually have to make a video explaining so you guys know what the heck I've been teasing for so many months. That's about all the shilling I had. So yeah, be there Thursday for the premiere of this video. It should be a hoot, a very confusing hoot. Okay. I will move on from there, and shall we talk about our topic?
Let's do it.
Ah, darn it. I leave myself open for that every single week, don't I?
I know. I don't know why you do. You need to be more assertive. We are talking about this topic.
Whether
Or
you
you-
like it or not.
Or you could just be
Exactly.
like reverse psychology and be like, nah, we're not going to do it this week. And Haryan's going to be like, oh, let's do it. Oh, all right then.
All right.
You're really overestimating how
Mhm.
I'd react.
Yeah,
I've
maybe.
got to use some of that energy I've got from the BBFC streams where it's just like, I'm going to show you this and you're going to like it. Okay, folks. Okay. Yeah, but by the way, guys, no pressure on any of this. I don't want you feeling like pressured. If you fancy supporting the channel, you're fine. It's not expected. It's all a bonus. You being here is helping me enough. It's
Right.
all good.
No,
Don't feel pressured by it. Trust me. I feel
Horrorshow.
weird chilling.
not good enough. No, there is absolute pressure. We are exerting as much pressure as physically possible. Join the channel. Don't do the $3.99 one. Do the $8.99 one. What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
Mima,
Do
I
it!
want you. Mima, I want you starving and paying for Chloe's videos. Okay, you don't deserve food.
Do you know how many? Every time I get a spare £2, it comes straight into this channel. I tell, just come on, think of it, man. I have kids to feed. I mean, geez Louise.
Yeah, Mima, have you considered Coke? Loads of people are buying it. It
I'm being
seems
bonked
popular.
again.
Give it a go.
Why spend money on
something
Coke when you can spend it on proper horror show?
Well, I just thought you could sling a little bit. That's going to be relevant later. Anyway, so I figured you guys might be excited about this. The topic is the knowledge problem and Netflix. I know you guys are really keen for me to talk about Netflix. I see you guys post N in the chat every single week, so I know you're baiting me to discuss Netflix, and I finally have a way to do so. But
Oh no,
So-
nothing. Carry on.
This might be a weird topic, guys, but something I was thinking about when watching, I think it was a Critical Drinker stream, and they were talking about Lord of the Rings and some of the Marvel stuff coming out, and they weren't super happy about it. They weren't big fans. And they were saying sort of, oh, why do they keep putting this crap out? Why are they pushing it out, And it got me thinking, well, that's kind of an economics question, isn't it? The question of why are these massive companies, why are they doing this? Why are they doing things that are very controversial? Why are they putting out QTs? Why do you see so many things that seem very transparently contrary to public demand? And that makes me think that this is basically an economics question, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kind of. Yeah. I'll see where you're going with this, and then I'll give input after.
Okay. Before I go further, I should actually point out the first member has already been claimed. Wheezy, you've nailed it. Thank you so much. You're an absolute star. Welcome aboard. If I did say that anyone who gets a membership will be able to see it early. If you would like that, message me. I will sort that out for you. If you want to join the fun on Thursday, also good. Let me know and I will sort it out for you. It's just a matter of me adjusting some settings. But welcome aboard. That is awesome.
Peer pressure works.
Yes. Joy. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard.
One of us. I'll tell you what. If any, I'm gonna make a pledge now. If anybody subscribes, joins the One of Us cling, you're gonna get this from me. One of us. One of us. One of us. The alabaster. One of us.
Brilliant. Okay. Right. Yes. Watch it. Set the world alight and watch it burn. A very good answer, Needle and Fur. Yes. Where's Bilbo? They do. Okay. This is interesting. Okay. You're getting close to it. So let's talk about the knowledge problem when I get the screen up. This is, by the way, guys, this looks a bit cheesy. Forgive me. Oh, look. A clever man with a quote. Oh, this topic is so legitimate.
It's the best. It's the based black man. He's my favourite.
It is one of our favourite economists, Thomas Sowell. Now, his coining of the knowledge problem is a way of describing how large-scale organised planning fails to deliver quality in economic circumstances. Trust me, this will work for Netflix. Trust me, we'll get there. Basically, if you're trying to plan for a huge thing for millions of people, then you're going to need really good information. Like even on the basic level of how many pencils should I provide? How much asparagus do people need? Do we have enough potatoes? These become really complex. And when you go for mass scale planning, country scale planning, your error margins are going to be massive. You have so many inputs to go into that sort of availability, preference, duration of goods, ability to transport, logistics. It gets so complex. There is so much knowledge that you need. And as Thomas Sowell says, knowledge can be enormously costly. Basically, you do not have the information that you need to plan accurately. And as such, you will make mistakes and your system will suffer as a result. The complexity of the system is the main issue. Okay, I'm leaving a dramatic pause there, just so we can take that in. Okay, so
this horror show. What's this got to do with Netflix?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, Haryan. Well, we're going to look at it from the other side of things. Okay, so the ability of the state to plan for a mass number of people is difficult. But what about the ability of the mass number of people to influence the decisions of the state? Right? That becomes difficult. So put the Thomas Sowell description to the side. Let's talk about the early days of film. Or at least let's go back to like the 90s, okay? Now, films go out. They go in your cinemas. There's two films. There's, give me a film from the 90s.
Alien
Jurassic
3.
Park. Of course.
We'll go with Jurassic Park. Now give me a terrible film from the 90s.
Alien 3.
Yes. I walked into that one, didn't I? Let's go for the Haunting remake. Okay. We'll talk about the remake of The Haunting. Maybe Speed 2. Huh? How about that?
Sorry, before you, Andrew in the chat. Oh dear, have I turned up the PHS going off on one?
It's okay, Andrew. It's fine. I'm not talking.
For?
I'm not going to be talking about the BBFC. You're safe.
This is her unique selling point.
Okay, so you have a film like Jurassic Park. It's absolutely amazing. Everyone loves it. Massive claps. We go and see it again, right? We love Jurassic Park, and we give the money to the cinema in the form of tickets for Jurassic Park. And that makes it really easy to know how popular Jurassic Park is. Yeah?
Well, I
Yeah, that
would have
makes
said
sense.
I would have contributed to that, but my mum wouldn't let me go and see it.
Oh, bless you. Bless
Fun
you.
fact: she
So-
went to see the film to determine whether it would be suitable for me. Bearing in mind, this is what 93, and I was 7 years old, so I had I was probably at the peak of my interest in dinosaurs, and she was like,
Oh.
and she was like, no, it's too scary for you, and I'm like, you clearly don't know me, mum. You clearly don't know me.
It's some
I
scary
love
moments.
dinosaurs.
Okay, so we all love dinosaurs, and so Jurassic Park is a massive hit because we go and buy tickets for Jurassic Park and lots of popcorn. But Speed 2 just it's not hitting the mark, is it? Why is it on a boat? Why are the stars gone? It's so confusing. No one is happy. We're not interested in Speed 2, and so we don't buy tickets for Speed 2. So Speed 2 fails. What we have is a really simple input. 2 products, 2 films that we like or don't like, and we can support them directly. Right? But let's fast forward to now. We are paying for Netflix or Amazon Prime. And it becomes kind of, we can't, adjust our debit to say, Amazon Prime, you've got some really good stuff on here, but I'm not sure about this. I've knocked 70p off for this month for Lord of the Rings. Okay, not into it. Not into it. Sorry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the funding model is completely different. And by the way, I'm massively simplifying the funding and profit models for cinema going here. Obviously, there was a lot tied up in not just cinema sales, but VHS sales, merchandising, rights related to sequels and further adaptations, foreign audiences, TV stuff. So obviously, it's much more complex than the example I gave, but it's still a far simpler system than this one. Basically, your ability in this streaming services model to support a specific thing is very limited. You aren't able to express your consumer choice and consumer preference in as sophisticated a manner.
I see where you're going with it. So, for the layman, i.e., me, what you're basically what you're saying, Kathy Newman, is you pay Amazon money.
Mm-hmm.
They put out content, but you don't really choose what you pay for. They just provide you with, and okay, but if that product doesn't perform well, then that product from Amazon would get pulled. I mean, use Netflix for example. I think they recently pulled Space Force because they were supposed to do a 3rd season of that, but the ratings for the 2nd season were quite awful, and that got pulled.
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop was pulled after the 1st season. There's other stuff as well. Other stuff that I can't think of right now.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm not as sure about the Netflix stats, but they do make it quite opaque. They don't want to really say, oh, people are a little annoyed about the cuties thing. Ooh, might have stepped on a landmine there.
Yeah.
I think there's various things about just because basically the economy is getting quite tough on people. I think people are chucking Netflix just as seeing it as an easy thing to save money on. But it becomes harder to know.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying in this model, basically Amazon and Netflix can kind of put out something that they are ideologically motivated to support without taking the economic hit that they would take if they were to just put something out individually in a cinema that could then just flop,
You say that.
There's less for risk, I think. Yeah.
It's part of like a how can I say, like it's the equivalent of I guess like a consolidated fund on the market. There is less risk when you buy an index fund than when you buy a specific stock.
Yeah, and this might be where Netflix having a lower tiered subscription rating but getting ads might work better for them, because then views matter a hell of a lot more, because then they're making money off views as well. I mean, they're already working on views, but now we'll actually hit them harder. But
I did see that they're sort of they're starting to they'll have to give views data to sell adverts. Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if the knowledge problem. I think it works to some extent, but I think it's also worth bearing in mind that with with TV shows, from greenlighting a project to actually finishing it, it's probably about 5 years. So when this was greenlit and being written, this would have been probably 2019, maybe slightly earlier, and that's at the height of when kind of woke went mainstream, if you want to put it like that. Thanks to Trump getting in office and then every media company going absolutely mental. And that's probably why Lord of the Rings looks like this.
That's interesting that you say that about the timescale it takes for something to be sort of put in front of producers, greenlit, and then actually put in front of our put on our screens. Do you think some of the stuff that we're seeing now is kind of like the tail end effect of the sort of the Trump presidency and the whole Brexit era?
It's like a lag. Things you'll see on the screen, they're kind of 3 years behind. I mean,
it's interesting because if you want to see it real time, just look at Jeff Bezos' likes on Twitter. I mean,
I was going to say that they can. Whilst the whole production cycle can start like 5 years ago, they do actually remain very adaptable. So they can change quite a lot. So an example I'd give is there are loads of characters who are mainstays who are never set to be mainstays. They're meant to like die in their first episode. So the obvious example is Jesse from Breaking Bad, or Spike from Buffy.
Daryl from The Walking Dead.
Daryl from The Walking Dead, yeah.
I just want to highlight this comment. Zoe Spinner, hey, good to see you on the channel again.
Hey.
Just because you mentioned Mindhunter, there's a guy in Alien 3 and it was driving me mad. Who is this guy? Who is this guy he's basically the only one who survived? Who is he? And it's Holt McElhaney. It's the big guy from Mindhunter. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his character name in Mindhunter, but it's that guy. And looking like Bill Burr. It's really weird. It drove me out. Just because you mentioned Mindhunter, I had to say it.
But yeah, they will be adaptable. But bear in mind as well that the Amazon and Netflix, they're mostly going to be influenced by mainstream media, which is still. I mean, I still read The Guardian every 2 weeks. Still pretty bad for being woke, basically. And so hence most things being released now are still like that. But I mean, honestly, you give it 3-4 years, the way Jeff Bezos is going, you'll probably have 2016 era skeptic talking points being put in films.
That is the scariest thing we've thought about on this channel.
Well, this is what's so funny. Like, after all these years, Sargon of Akkad won. Basically,
but at what cost, Haryan?
He won the long game.
At what cost?
At what cost? At what cost? It's a few years of Clown Decade. I'm willing to live with that.
Hang on, wait, no.
I'm always up for a laugh.
Does this mean like 2029? It's going to go full clown on Amazon? I mean, it's pretty clown right now.
I think things will get worse before they get better, but I think we'll kind of get to a cliff point where Clown World will just fall to bits, and then we'll have the rise of the, 2016 skeptics. And it'll be interesting to see what the ones that kind of went leftward say. People like Shoe on Head, Chris Reagan,
Jeff Holiday.
People like that. Jeff Holiday. It'd be interesting to see what they think. So I'll probably be like, oh my god, they went full conservative, and it's like this was you. This was you. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But obviously, Sargon's the real winner because he's the only person not a laughing stock, it feels like, from 2016.
He won so hard, even Jim apologised to him.
Yeah.
Nothing can defeat Don Sargoni. nothing.
Exactly.
Although Sargon needs to, gosh darn it, he needs to get me on Lotus Eaters because he hasn't. There's talk of them covering the BBFC, and can you believe they did not personally send a chauffeur directly to me, the resident BBFC expert? Can you believe it?
Oof.
I'm gonna go to Swindon and kick his ass.
Absolutely.
Mergut mentions in the chat, Amazon has done better. The Boys, Invincible, and Reacher are damn good. Do you know what? I will absolutely co-sign that. The Boys, the second, was it the second season of The Boys wasn't as
second
good.
season was ass.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still,
like
it's still,
3.
but it's still, you know, it was still better than 90% of the stuff that they put on the platform. Like after I watched Alien 3 today, I watched one of these like Prime ones that you can watch for free, and my God, it was utter toilet. Invincible, fantastic, and Reacher. I actually mate. Honestly, it's brilliant. My father-in-law recommended that to me because I was talking to him about the Tom Cruise films. He was like, "Yeah, no, don't." He's like, Reacher is not a 5'4" Scientologist.
I love that Bilbo. Thank you.
Yeah. Built for BBFC.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard good things. So, yeah, it was Critical Drinker was really singing the praises of Reacher. I thought, I'm tempted. I've got to be honest, I couldn't get through. I tried one episode of Invincible. I couldn't get into it. But The Boys.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The maybe I was just in a weird mood. The Boys, I loved season 1. Season 2, oof, if you're talking about The Boys, I'm sorry, I have to do it. There's a friend of the channel called Last Things. He has a 3-part series on The Boys. It's amazing. I think if you haven't seen that, it's a really good perspective on what The Boys is about. Ties it to some good political theory. Really interesting. So I have to shill Last Things every chance I get.
Sure.
Just
make sure you follow up with Shilly, my live stream channel.
Yeah,
Sub to my live stream channel.
Bear in mind, one of the biggest memes on this channel or on these live streams, Girls Get It Done, comes directly from The Boys season 2.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but that's a bad thing because they unironically did The Girls Get It Done. The Boys season 2 was what a woke person thinks edgy people are.
Well, I saw that thing from the start with. I'll be careful in case anyone hasn't seen season 2, but when they did the thing with the Stormfront, who's a little spicy and calling out the nonsense, calling out the sort of corporate shill stuff. I was like, kind of interesting. And I mean, I'm sort of spoiling it here, but okay. They make the character who criticizes the corporate stuff super, super evil. And I was like, oh, that's what's going on.
It's like, if you say the writing's bad in a show, you are a Nazi. Was basically what the show said. Hi, Dar.
Dale, I'm going to be honest with you, mate. You're probably going to hear a very similar opinion on here. It's so bad that Scrump didn't turn up. I think I was actually relying on Scrump to defend this, but dude has been nuked off Twitter, so we've had trouble.
Oh, what did he say this time?
I think he was aiming at cyclists. He targeted cyclists. Apparently you can't do that.
Well, so economic erudite said that cyclists deserve the chair, and he got banned for half a day.
They're really weird about which groups are protected. Anyway, well, I think because we're now coming up on 35 minutes, I get the feeling, guys, that we're tiptoeing around this film a little bit.
What gives you that idea?
Tail?
Oh my God. Get him on. Get me Dar on.
Do you want to? All right.
I think, yeah.
If you're up for it, man, we have been trying to find the film for you. So, all right, Haryan, can I leave it to you to get Tail the link? Since you're here, mate, since you're here. All right, Haryan's going to talk about that. We will talk a little bit about Alien 3. And while that's getting set up, I will lay a little bit of the groundwork for it. It's an interesting one. Obviously, we followed one of the most successful sequels of all time, Aliens in 1986, the sequel to 1979's Alien by Ridley Scott. We've had 2 director changes. Ridley Scott was asked back, but he was not interested in doing the scenario that they settled on. Basically, the idea of what is Alien 3 going to be was the biggest problem, as far as I can tell. Basically, that question, where do we go from here with the story? That from what I can tell, caused them the biggest problem. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, well, I mean, I looked through the Wikipedia about halfway through the film, so I was like, this film's a mess. What went wrong? It was rewritten about 5 times. that seemed to be one big thing with it. Yeah.
I should also specify we are working with the one I watched was the not director's cut. No, there is no director's cut because this is borderline disowned. Like, he hasn't fully disowned it, but one of the things they had in production was a lot of studio interference, and David Fincher, who is now a very established director, was a 29-year-old first-timer when he got this film. So he did not have a huge amount of sort of bargaining power against the studio, and as such, he was getting pushed around a bit. Now, from what I can tell from the reports, Sigourney Weaver was actually quite supportive of his vision, which helped. But he still feels that it was interfered with so much that when he was given the opportunity to make a cut closer to his original version, he wasn't interested in it. And he said, please don't even call it the director's cut.
Oh, wow. Because
he basically feels it was so interfered with, there is no director's version. You can't pull his actual vision out of it. So the longer version, longer by about half an hour, is known as the assembly cut. That's the version I watched. Did you guys watch that or the theatrical?
I don't know. I watched it off Amazon. I assume it was the longer one.
Mine's the 2-hour version. It was only the one on Disney Plus, so I assume it's the same as the one on Amazon.
You were lucky. You were lucky. Yeah,
Alien 3 is on Disney Plus.
Yeah, all the aliens are. That's how I've been watching them.
Okay.
Even though I've got them on Blu-ray.
This is confusing, but okay. Yeah. All right, and we'll bring in now. Tailed Feature, good to have you on stream, sir.
Hello, good evening. I won't say the N-word.
Thank you so much.
Much
appreciated.
Yeah, because I actually like your channel, so.
Unlike as opposed to mine, yeah.
That's much appreciated.
Unbelievable.
I've been trying to get you on for a while but I haven't been able to get horror films you've seen.
Yeah,
and you've got far too good taste to just let me assign you a random one. Like, hey, Tail, there's this film called Teeth. If you're interested. Yeah.
I'm aware of Teeth, but I haven't actually watched it. But I'll do research for streams if I have to.
Good man. Don't worry, we're saving Teeth for International Women's Day next year. So don't worry about it. It's all good. Or Mother's Day.
What day is Human Centipede saved for?
International Men's Day, yeah.
Would you be mad if I smuggled a Human Centipede into 2000 Sci-Fi Horror?
No.
Oh,
I want to watch it.
Okay. It's that, or there's kind of an arc about Frankenstein, but let's not derail. Tailed, can I ask you about like your feelings about Alien 3? I gather you have seen it.
It's been a while since I've watched it, to be fair, and I have a slight affection for it in the sense that I believe it was the first Alien movie that I saw, because, well, I mean, I was 6 when it came out. I didn't see it when I was 6, just before you think, my parents were just like, let's take him to see this at 6 years old. They're not quite that based. So yeah, I've got a little bit of a soft spot for it in that sense, but when you go back and watch it as an adult and have seen the first 2, then yes, it's somewhat of a disappointment. That's
Hmm.
that's me summing it up to the best of my abilities.
Yeah, to be fair, I saw this one. This was the first one that I'd seen of the three.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah. Because again, like Toad, when this was out, I was only about 6 as well. I think we were roughly the same age. Did your mum let you see Jurassic Park though, Toad?
Yeah, I saw that in cinema.
Yeah, and my mum didn't let me watch that.
Yeah, well, my mum's more based than yours, clearly.
There you go. Yeah, I should have disowned her when I had the chance.
Yeah.
I'm actually Aliens was the first I saw, and I was like 9, and it had been recorded off the TV. So, you know, I had nice breaks, you know, from the horror, because there was like DFS adverts in between, or farm foods adverts, just stuck in there to sort of break it up a little bit. I appreciated that.
Do you know what? I really regret skipping over the adverts when recording stuff, because they'd be so good to go back to, just to get a feel for what adverts were like back in the day.
Oh, you'll be able to see white couples in them.
I remember about 10 years ago or something, they showed Terminator 2 on the TV, and I had a TV at the time because it was, well, back in the olden days, and I was just flicking through it. I was like, oh, Terminator 2, amazing, but it was on Channel 4 or Film 4 or something like that. So yeah, adverts every 15 minutes, and it just completely ruined the whole thing. And it's a long film as it is.
Yeah,
the adverts, it ended up being about 3 hours. I didn't even get through the whole thing.
Damn.
Yeah, it's brutal, isn't it? And they used to run them slightly faster to try and make up for that, and you get these weird cuts in the TV versions. Oh,
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
good times, good times. Oh, so with this, yeah, I think I actually took quite a while to see Alien 3, but I was always curious about it, because like this image that we've got up on screen now in the TV there, I remember seeing that as the VHS cover.
Yeah,
and thinking,
it is quite iconic.
Oh, it's pretty epic. It is.
And I remember someone photoshopping a version of who's that woman that was in she was the leader of the Lib Dems during that election.
Was she the one? Was she the one who lost her seat?
Joe.
Yes.
Joe.
Yeah, Joe who?
I'm looking.
Joe Mama. No, that wasn't actually a setup.
How are you?
Yeah.
Gosh darn it. Okay, wait.
Yeah. So it had her as the alien and because remember that picture of her with the big teeth and all that. So
yeah.
Joe Swinson, you're welcome.
Joe Swinson, that's it. Yeah. I'm actually going to see if I can find that picture.
Do it. I want it.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
Actually, you talked about iconic. That poster is pretty iconic, but have you considered how iconic Charles Dance is? Look at him with that drip.
Oh yeah, he's pretty much the highlight of the film, to be honest with you.
Yes.
I had completely forgotten he is in this.
Taken out way too early, in my opinion.
Yeah. And also, I'm just having a quick look through the Wikipedia page, and I forgot that Paul McGann's in it, which...
Yeah, it took me ages to recognise him, because he's bald. And
yeah.
They're all bald. They're all bald. If we're talking about some interesting choice decisions in this, can we... The difficulty of basically everyone is bald, I find it didn't help me distinguishing people. I found it quite difficult.
I feel discriminated against right now.
Same.
Hairless. Fucking
ginger. Rather be hairless than ginger.
Speaking of ginger, did you know? I didn't realise Charles Dance here. He's very auburn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of blonde.
Yeah, I mean the cast is amazing. This won't mean much to Australians and Yanks in the chat. Hi, Miss Gently Benevolent and Bilbo. I see you. I'm representing Australia, but the cast in this is really weird to watch as a Brit. Like you've got Phil Davis in there, just turning up on the loose. He always sort of catches me out when you see a random Phil Davis. As we mentioned, Holt McElhaney, who would turn up in Mindhunter, Paul McGann. They do make the effort to distinguish Paul McGann by getting the blood splatter over his face, and he just doesn't wash it off. But
and Charles Dance is the only person without a round face.
Oh.
Basically what distinguishes him. Oh my god.
Very nicely done. Very nicely done. Thank you.
So many thanks to Ruger, who's the main moderator in Count Dankula's Discord. He made that.
That is a thing of beauty.
That is very well done. I mean, it's a good format. I think we can do that very. I was tempted to do like a super nanny threatening us to end the stream on time. maybe another one. Maybe another one. So, like, giving a lead in. Like, forgive me, Taylor. I do a bit of a lead in for this. So the big thing I'm saying is, like, they didn't know what to do with the story of this. They went through all sorts of ideas. Ridley Scott largely didn't come back because he really wanted to talk about the origins of Alien, and they just wouldn't give him the budget for it. So he's like, oh, okay, I'm off.
Oh,
he didn't say it like that. He sounded classy.
This film also has Pete Postlethwaite in it, like just about every film in the 90s.
Yeah.
He was in Sharp, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah, he was in Sharp as Obadiah, the mental one who like stole a picture of one of the commanding officer's wives or something.
Also, Usual Suspects. Someone has also shouted out one of my favourites. Where is he? My boy, Charles Dutton. Yep, Charles Dutton is carrying a lot of this. If you're still in the chat, Charles Dutton, King of the Corner from 2000. Very little seen TV series, precursor to The Wire. Charles Dutton is just amazing in it. Very cool. One of the other great cast members with just an amazing voice, and he really stands out. Yeah, they didn't know what to do with it. They went through many revisions, and they eventually settled on something that was basically the equivalent of Ripley crash landing on a monastery planet. And that influenced them a lot, as I think you can see in the picture. Well, in the scene where Charles Dance is striding along, the kind of outline of the silhouette he's given, it looks kind of a lot like a monk's cowl or monk's habit. The religious element is still very strong, but they've updated it so it's not a monastery. Obviously, it's a prison mining colony, effectively. But you can see that original Vincent Ward script is basically the idea that drove it. Richard, I knew you'd have seen it. Good lad. Good lad.
Can someone explain to me what the double Y chromosome thing was about?
When was that?
Yes, a really dodgy decision. I actually have a screen cap for it.
You caught it? Because when I saw that in the opening scene, when the ship's going down towards the planet, it comes up with double Y chromosome. He does explain it a bit later on in the film as well, but it just really threw me. It's like, that's not how chromosomes work.
Chromosome.
I believe you can get it. I mean, feel free to mock me if I'm wrong, but I think is XYY is Klinefelter's, if I'm wrong. But you can get it. It's an abnormality. You pick up duplicates of the Y chromosome, and people with Klinefelter's tend to be much more masculinized and with a sort of, you do get mental deficiencies and a tendency to violence.
Right.
I could be hugely wrong. I'm going off memory here. So it can happen. It's I think the idea of it is this idea of you put your strong female character, your woman Ripley, on not just a planet full of men, but the most manly men to ever man up. You know?
I think if he said X double Y chromosome, well, I mean, obviously it would have been a bit of a mouthful, but it was just because it said double Y. I was like, hold on, are we talking about X?
Thank you, Maggie.
Y? There we go. But yeah, no, that clears it up. I mean, that actually makes a bit more sense now with regards to the actual type of the type of people.
It's actually where they send people with Downs.
Maybe
extra chromosome work.
Yeah. How did Mergut manage to send the word? Oh right, he misspelled the word. The R word. I got you. Very good.
Nice.
Bilbo, 2 Y chromosomes. The gay reading is built directly into the genome.
Do we want
God
some
damn
more
it.
Harry Shum? Because I have got some.
No.
It seems relevant. Oh, fine.
Do you actually have a gay reading of this?
No.
They all wanted to bang Ridley.
I was going
Ripley.
to. I was going to say this is one where I feel like all the chaos around writing it messed up any potential reading because
Thank God
I
for
can't
that.
see anything. Like I've gone on a thing about there's a really consistent vibe and message behind Alien and Aliens, and it's kind of wholesome. It's like Ripley actually gets in touch with her femininity and identifies with it by the end of Aliens. You know, she's taken on a mothering role, and it's quite wholesome.
Hmm.
And then
in
this
the first
seems to be like,
second,
scrap that.
Yeah.
it's like, let's
Wait.
kill off Newt right at the very.
Yeah.
Oh,
this
I
is-
was so mad about that.
Oh, mate.
Oh wait,
Honestly.
sorry. Spoilers for Alien 3, guys.
Yes.
The whole
Oh,
film.
yeah, sorry.
Spoilers.
Oh,
Yeah.
just on that point as well, the thing that annoyed me as well is that Ripley's just like, oh, my adopted daughter basically died. Right, let's straight away let's cut her open, make sure she's got nothing inside her. And I'm like, gee, that's your child. I think you'd like be a bit more sad.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand the logic behind it. However, I did feel like she was quite disconnected from it. You know, I mean, because not that much longer, you know, not that much further on into the film, you know, she sleeps with Dutton. You know, she's like, oh, you know, it's been a while, and it's like, but it's like, you know, you were quite well connected to bloody whatever his name was in the second film, because he was also on the ship when it crash landed. Hicks, that's the one.
Yeah.
You know,
Kyle Reese from Terminator. So.
Kyle Reese, thank you, Tailed. Yes,
That's what I was
Gotta love
thinking.
that
yes,
Michael Biehn.
yes. So yeah, you know, she was quite into Kyle Reese from the second one, and you know, she just seemed to like instantly forget about them. But no, I'm completely on board with the whole fact that, you know, this film completely undid everything that the second film did. You know, the second for me was borderline masterpiece, and this one just goes, yeah, not worth it.
Yeah, I just want to show the screen caps for this because, folks, if you didn't watch it, they intro this really quickly. So the first thing you see is this lovely image, the recap of where you were at the end of Aliens. Pretty nice. And then it does sort of a title shot and then a short bit from a scene. Title shot, short bit. So it feels like it's sort of skipping you through it really quickly.
Yeah.
And these are quite major developments because in just these shortcuts showing a facehugger causing chaos in there, you go from this status quo here, where they're in cryopods and all's looking well, and then the next thing we see of them, and I apologize if anyone is eating here, I won't have it up for very long, make your own jokes.
Nom noms.
Suddenly you're at this, it's like...
nice.
And it's brutal. It's not just, oh, they died, it's like... his jaw.
They were eviscerated.
You know, he's crushed to pieces. He's pate. Bishop is horrific scrap, and Newt is dead on a table there and gets cut. Like, it's brutal. It's very grim.
Like, I get that the escape vehicle, you know, when it crash lands, people will be eviscerated. I don't get why two of them will be putty and the other two are basically still in one piece.
I mean, it feels spiteful. It reads to me as spiteful. Like, you didn't just give the character a sort of dignified death. It's like kind of how they killed Chef on South Park.
It's almost just like they're shitting on everyone who liked the first two films. It's just
Yeah.
No, we're going to do our own thing with it. So screw you guys. They're all dead.
It's
And
very
horrible
Last
ways.
Jedi.
Screw you guys. Newt's
Yes.
not going home.
Yes, Haryan. Expectations subverted. I know it's a dead meme now.
Thanks, Fox.
Okay.
But we got Charles Dance. Yay.
I mean, look, before we get into what happens, like, I mean, where would you have liked to see the story go after Aliens? Like, did you have an idea of something that you would have
Not really. I don't. You know, if it doesn't need a sequel, it doesn't need a sequel. I mean, yeah, everybody likes seeing Alien. You know, the aliens, the xenomorphs, because they're cool and everything. But sometimes a sequel just doesn't need to be made. And when you've got a classic like Alien, and then the very rare sequel that is as good, if not better, than the first one, then I suppose in terms of sort of financial reward, it would be silly not to make a sequel to that. But at the same time, just quit while you're ahead, man. I've honestly never really thought where could they go from here before. So I just don't see what the need for this one was. And maybe that's because it's terrible. It's just a mess, really, this film. So even if they'd managed to kind of iron it out a bit and make it make sense, basically, but it's just a total mess. And I get that. Obviously, they had a lot of production issues and everything, like you were mentioning earlier, with all the different directors and everything they went through. But yeah, at that point, you just go, we'll just shelve it. We'll come back to it in some other time. But no, they just seem to plow on regardless. And I think it just suffers as a result. I mean, having said that, it looks quite good. Like, I mean, from an aesthetic point of view.
Oh, yeah. This film is gorgeous.
Yeah.
That seems to be an area they didn't lose. So it's like, I can't fully hate it because it just looks gorgeous. I like what you said there, though. If we can pick on something. So you the idea of should it have a sequel or not is like a good one. I often think you can leave it. I try and keep an open mind because sometimes late sequels have really surprised me by how good they've been. Like Curse of Chucky is the example I always go to, or Friday the 13th Part 6. But they had a really clear direction they went. Whereas, do you think Aliens, maybe, is it a bit more like the Terminator, where it's quite a limited story and there's not as much you can do with it?
Kind of, because by the time they get to, the fourth film, it's in essence, it's let's just put a xenomorph in this situation. You know what I mean? It's not a fully fleshed out kind of story. The first film was there is one. The next one, there is millions of them. What do you do then? It's like, oh, well, now we'll just put them in this weird prison colony type thing, and now we'll put them on this, it just, yeah.
I mean, I was to say, maybe. I mean, if they were insistent on doing a third one, then like you mentioned, Horrorshow, it should have been perhaps more of an origin story. Close the chapter on Ripley, and sort of go back to the very beginning, i.e., almost like a kind of Prometheus storyline. Like a proper prequel. I just don't know how. Well, obviously I know Prometheus dodgy, blah blah blah. But
putting it lightly,
yeah. But but for me, it's kind of like after the second film, where could Ripley go from there? Really?
Well, why do you need Ripley in it?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the prequel for the third one, one could have been the introductions to the crew leading up to the events that took place on the first film. Just to tie everything nicely together.
The other thing, what you say there is quite a good point, right? Because Haryan says, does it even need Ripley? Well, no. This film, it could have been, to be honest with you, this film pretty much could have been any character. So if at the beginning they said, Newt's dead, Bishop's dead, Hicks is dead and all that. If it said Ripley's dead, I don't think it would have really changed the plot too much, other than the fact that she's a woman in a male sort of dominated, there's only men there. That's really the only thing that it needs to be Ripley for.
That is a solid point. No, actually, I'm on board with that, because we think of it this way. Because I mean, you take Ripley out of the equation, the film will still run the course, because the dog gets infected, or impregnated rather, and then sort of everything sort of happens from there on. Ripley's only really there to provide exposition and previous experience. Really, it might have been a bit more interesting. It might have been a bit more interesting if these guys had to work it out for themselves, you know.
Well, that'd just be a repeat of the first one, sort of. What
In
I
a
was
way,
going to
yeah.
say is, I mean, if you're going to have the first one, truckers in space with an alien after them, the second one, Marines in space trying to kill a load of these things, I'd make the third one kind of weapons test in this abandoned prison, like have it so that the company did get their hands on the eggs, and now they're testing out what the xenomorphs can actually do in a controlled environment from them, and that I could even add another layer of horror to these prisoners.
I kind of like that. I wish you'd done
Yeah.
the script. Can I pause you there? We've got a bonus. We have got a Scrump, and I'm going to bring Scrump on.
Oh my!
Had a bit of issues. We got him late, but it's all right. It's a party in here now. It's all good. Hello.
Yeah, I could bow out if there's too many.
Oh no.
I think we're
stick around,
grand.
Dave,
I mean, it's
stick
good to have you on, Tailed. It's fantastic. We'll be grand. Hey, Scrump, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Apologies for being so late. I've had quite a big power outage here.
Bless you.
I've had no power since I got home, which has
Not-
been a bit inconvenient, but it's back now, so I'm back now.
None dare call it collapse.
It seems to be more of a localized thing, but yeah, it's a little bit disconcerting when you're without power for like 3 hours. But
Oh, bless you, bless you. We're batting around the idea of whether this film should have happened, and if so, is this the scenario to do? Do you know much about the production of Alien 3?
I'm aware. I did quite a lot of research into Alien 3 because I've seen a couple of versions of it. I know there's been some attempts to make it a little bit better. I know there was the kind of director's cut stuff. There's a lot of the cut stuff in the scripting stage. I know it was David Fincher felt like he was basically being used as a hack during this.
Oh yes.
Which is a real shame because he's really a good fit in terms of director for this kind of film. It's probably been discussed already, but my main qualm with the film is the unceremonious death of two of the most important characters from Alien 2, basically off screen. It's like, oh yeah, Newt's dead now. The good android's dead now. I always forget his name.
Bishop.
Bishop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Bishop. Sorry, I keep thinking Bishop's the one from the first film, but it's not. Is it the one from the second film?
Yep.
So we've got basically, oh yeah, retcon, the whole Ripley motherhood thing. Nope. The whole character of Bishop, their interplay, all they went through, all the character development that could have eased it into this film with some familiar faces. Nope, it's all gone. It's all they died on the way home to their home planet, like Poochie.
Oh, R.I.P. Poochie.
So that's kind of a gut punch already. But it really, Alien 3 is. There's some debate whether it was purely studio meddling or if the production was just in such chaos. Because there were a lot of rewrites, I know. There was a lot of scripting ideas vetoed. There was some budgeting issues. It basically had a perfect storm of like development hell for a while. And being quite a young filmmaker at the time, having only made...
shorts.
Yeah. Really, had he done Memento at this point?
No, he would not make Memento. So it was on the basis of his directing of this, where he did make, admittedly, CGI excluded, a beautiful film, a stylish film, a well-framed film that he got supporters in the studios who actually gave him a chance on Seven. Oh, sorry, on the game, and then Seven. It's not Memento.
I think 7 came before the game, but yeah, Alien 3. Yeah, then he.
Sorry, you're right. I always confuse that. Yeah, sorry, it's 7 first. Sorry.
Oh, it's not. Who am I getting that mixed up with?
Nolan.
Nolan, that's it. Sorry, it's Nolan who did Memento. My brain. Yeah, he'd only done shorts up to that point, hadn't he?
Yeah, I think studios thought they could basically make him make a product because the big directors had stepped away. They were doing other things.
Yes. I'm trying to remember what else he did. I know he was like a big cameraman for a while. Yeah, it's. I meant to say 7. Sorry. I don't know why I said Memento. I get those films mixed up for some reason. Even though they're nothing alike, I think I just substitute their names. Yeah, he hadn't done 7 at this point. So yeah, he really was somebody I think that the studio thought they could bring in and bully. Because it was Fox was doing
definitely.
1990s Fox was not a particularly productive studio either. They were not bringing out their best at this time, really. No.
And of course,
No,
we
no.
are entering the very early stages of what I call the danger zone, the CGI danger zone. I'm sorry to have to hit you with this twice in 2 weeks, guys, but we are doing 90s horror, so it is going to happen. And I've just got the first image for you, which is just called "Oh No."
Oh no.
This is our alien. You may notice something about it. Mostly it's not being there. By the way, I should point out, if this is causing any confusion, this is not what you saw in the theatrical version. This is from the assembly cut. In the theatrical version, the alien comes out of a dog. In the assembly cut, it comes out of an ox.
Ah, right. Okay, so then I saw the theatrical version then.
Yeah, it's one of those random changes. Like, there's a couple of significant ones, as well as just like the length of it. There's things like this. There's something right at the end with the sacrifice of Ripley that isn't in the original cut.
I didn't have the theatrical cut because I remember the ox.
Ah, okay, good. Well,
an ox?
it's so handy people are mentioning Poochie. So, like, before we hate on this idea, because they did get the idea of mixing it up so that the alien is actually quite influenced by what it gestates in. So because they had it gestating from a dog, they originally tried another way of doing the effect for the alien, the dog alien, that was not using CG. I'm going to try and get that for you now. Okay. Good, I've got it. Okay. Bear with me. I think people know what's coming. As in literally putting a dog in an alien costume.
Wow.
Oh,
wow.
Oh no.
But who's the best popper?
He's a little lurcher, look at him.
I know.
Alien. Look
Easily the best bit of the film then.
I know. I've got some fun production stills of that.
But
I've also got it in action. Who's the goodest lad? Who's the goodest Xenomorph?
Wow, that looks horrible.
Oh wow. Oh no, that looks terrible.
Really bad.
Terrifying.
Would you like your killer Pupperino, or would you like your PS1 graphics? Like, choose your poison, lads.
The CGI wasn't too bad in this film for early 90s, but I'd definitely take that over a dog.
Yeah, it stands out a bit. It stands out. We've got a mix of things from. I've got another. Any CGI image, I've just saved it as "Oh no," so I can find them. Like in this pivotal scene, before we get the most iconic image of the film, we get this little bit of CGI alien. But
the spectre on his head isn't very good.
Yeah.
It's a shame because making animatronics of that wouldn't be too difficult, really. It's not that complex of a movement.
Well, yeah,
and they did have good animatronics as well. I guess they were trying to look modern, but
yeah, I think that because they wanted it to move quickly, I think was the idea. So it was doing something different to what they did in Aliens. They wanted
just got Joe Swinson in at this point.
I was going to say Joe Swinson.
Oh, no. I do like what you said when you came in, Scrump, about like Ripley's arc, in that this is, she's ended on this nice motherhood thing, and then this film kind of just chucks that in the skip, and it feels to me like a completely different Ripley.
Well, that kind of harks back to what we were saying. Does it even need to be Ripley in this film? Could it have just been anyone, like any woman?
Another double wide man, Y chromosome man.
Yeah. Or even if everybody else had died on the pod except for Newt, and then it was Newt as an adult or something, that possibly could have worked. I don't know.
There were numerous options going round. I just I have some feels about this because it just the big thing I pick up out of this is that I just don't know that this is Ripley. Like her shagging the Doctor quite quickly sort of surprised me. That didn't make a lot of sense to me.
No,
I mean, Charles Dance obviously, but
well, yeah,
that sort of helps. Yeah.
I mean, think of it from her perspective. You know, she was frozen at first for 50 years after a harrowing experience, got unfrozen, went straight into another harrowing experience, probably was frozen again for another 50 years. You know, she'll be gagging for it. Think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Charles Dutton literally banged a grandma.
What?
She's 100 years older than him.
Oh,
150
no.
at least. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's Charles Dance, not Charles.
Charles Dance. Sorry.
Charles Dutton's the what's his name? Dylan.
Yeah.
He's the guy who has to teach the brothers a lesson. Best line of the film. There are some weird choices in this. I'm swearing. One thing I noticed that was kind of weird for this. This is my version of Haryan's bullet autism. So you see the blood all over that guy, all over his vest.
Yeah.
I have a theory about that. It's quite weird. Like, why would you just suddenly smear blood all over your vest? I think it's because it's like a stand-in shot. They did have a lot of really gory footage of the autopsy, and they couldn't get away with it. And so I think they've just literally had him splash red up his chest as to be a stand-in for the fact that they can't show anything, to kind of convey nastiness without actually putting it on screen.
Yeah, that was.
It's a poorly placed bit of blood, though, isn't it? It's like right in the
looks
middle.
Very smeared on, yes.
Yeah, and it's almost just like, whoa, well, you know, it could be like a chest burster kind of thing, because it's not anywhere on his arms or anything like that. It's just in this sort of almost circular bit on his chest. It always looked a bit weird to me.
It's one of these weird bits of film logic, like just mentally they know you will connect a couple of image ideas together, and it'll be a stand-in. See also Christopher Nolan just having people fall down with no blood anytime they're shot.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a kind of classic stand-in. Yeah, so I had a struggle with this in that, you know, we're picking up on these, but this is gorgeous looking. There is a great cast, but there are just so many weird choices. Like the decision to have Ripley, you know, it's justified that she shaves her head, but things like she just walks into the canteen full of the guys. Sorry, I'm trying to find the image for it.
I remember the shot.
Man.
Yeah, she walks. Here we go. And it's kind of, I don't know if it was trying to do a bit of a girl power thing.
It's slightly before Girl Power, wasn't it? Is this 1992?
92,
wasn't it?
Yeah,
92, yeah. So filming in 91, I
mean, I suppose on the one hand, this scene demonstrates to the audience that Ripley's more than capable of handling her own, because the table she goes to sit down on, that's the Charles Dutton character, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm a murderer and a rapist, and she's like, oh, I guess I must make you nervous. It's like, ooh, sick burn.
Yeah. I found that a really weird line.
Yeah, and like he does nothing.
I mean, do we have another explanation for why she acts this way in the film?
Because she's a woman.
She has I don't know, she feels like a character who was written by multiple people and went through multiple rewrites, which is really what happened. I don't know, she has what me as a Star Wars nerd with Janeway syndrome, in that her character is whatever the writer wanted to be within the scene, and it varies back and forth depending on who's writing her or what stage of the script it's at or what they're going for in the particular moment, rather than her having an established character. Because she's very different than the Ripley that we see developed, especially in Alien 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is weird to see her nervous, considering the whole time with the Marines in the second film. Where, I mean, that's probably more girl power than this, where she just kind of takes charge and just lets them joke. Whereas this, she's like, I mean, I guess she'd be scared of like being surrounded by a load of criminals. To be fair, I'd probably poop myself.
That's
Yeah,
what I sort of expect. Like it's a big shake-up for her, that she tries this badass routine. She sleeps with the doctor straight away, and it's kind of interesting. Like they're not unaware of the obvious threat of her being in the only woman in a correctional facility full of men who have 2 Y chromosomes. They're not blind to this threat. They do have a scene in there about that. I won't have it on screen much. It's a bit unpleasant. They sort of, they do have to deal with an attempted struggle snuggle of her.
and then they all get beat up by
Dylan. Gotta have a word with the brothers.
I did like that scene, but
he is good.
There's some good bits in it. That's the tantalizing thing about Alien 3. It's not all in all a terrible film. It's not an out and out bad film. It had a lot of studio issues, like you said. It had a lot of stuff that had to be cut because of rating as well. It's just kind of that perfect storm of nearly getting going but not quite. It's one of those films really that might have been saved by like another year in the oven, really. If they'd gone back and said, right, this project really isn't working, let's do a whole bunch of pickups, let's film some new stuff, let's try and get some more stuff passed, let's make this into a cohesive film, they could have kept maybe 50-60% of it, because there's some good stuff in there. There are some good shots, there are some good bits, specifically when the alien is pursuing the prisoners a bit more actively. When they're trying to escape, they're not quite sure what they're doing, they're running around the tunnels a bit. That stuff's pretty good. But the rest of it is just there's just scenes in a movie, and it doesn't quite hang together as a whole thing.
But would you have kept the sex crime goggles?
Yes.
If no one
rape powers activate.
The goggles, they do nothing. But
Nice.
If that's confusing to you guys, if you didn't rewatch Alien 3 or watch it, I do not blame you. But there is the inevitable scene where Ripley is going about doing her thing. She's got kind of poorly defined motivations for like the first hour of the director's cut. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But she's inevitably caught by a whole bunch of the prisoners who decide to get her over a railing and have their way with her. It's quite brutal. It's kind of inevitable they have to have that scene. But when this guy is ready to start violating her, he pauses and pulls on his goggles. And it's such a weird scene that I'm just... Why?
I know. I've seen both the assembly cut and the theatrical, and some of like the mid-2000s quote unquote extended cuts relatively recently, actually. That's why I wanted to do this, and was frustrated by Mr. Power Cut. But it is you're right. It's an obligatory scene. It's a weird thing to say, but this is the obligatory rape scene.
It would be weird if you didn't do it.
It would be. It would be very, very odd. Considering the setting. But yeah, the goggles thing always struck me as bizarre.
It's
because I kind of like the rest of it where I can't remember the chaplain's name, but he's
Dylan.
like got to re-educate some of the brothers, and then she's like, right, okay, sees one of them and just punches him, and I'm like, that's good. I like
consistent.
That was kind of nice. I did like that. Yeah.
I would have preferred if she booted him in the face.
True, but the punch was pretty satisfying as well.
Yeah,
but goggles on autistic Screech is like a bit weird.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
You say that, you're all going to try it this weekend, Get the old swimming goggles out and just see if magic happens. The old deep dive.
I think I'll be kicked out of the room.
Okay.
Uh,
Before you get to the breaststroke, etc., obvious joke.
Wee.
Couldn't help
I'm
it.
sorry. I'm
Nice.
sorry, ma'am. The goggles stay on.
Oh my god. So I want to keep with what works. Like, I don't want to just dump on a film, like, because we have already done that with several of them. I like to try and find the positives, and again, I keep finding that this film is gorgeous. You get the feeling like so many films took off from it. Like, is it Jean-Paul Genet's Delicatessen? Feels like he's just lifting this whole color palette from it. This sort of grimy urban environment. Just, I really feel he was inspired by Alien 3 for that. And there's so much variation in the lighting and tone. Like, I know we're getting a lot of this kind of beigey palette with the shadows, but we see lots of intense fire. We see intense blues. Fincher's really gone out of his way to make this environment quite memorable. I really like that.
And that's part of what's frustrating about the film, though, because it looks great. It's very moody. It has some of that Fincher, that early Fincher stuff to it. You definitely see a lot of this with more of a green and darker brown and kind of black color palette in 7. It's lit in a kind of a similar, almost like stylized way. It's a bit comic book almost. It's what you'd see in some of the better, like very late 80s stuff that was going for that kind of style. It has a little bit of, weird to say, but Terry Gilliam's Brazil had a little bit of this look about it.
Absolutely. Oh, when was that done relative to this?
It was the 80s Brazil.
Yeah, it was 86 as well, like Aliens.
It's 1985. Yeah, Brazil's mid 80s. But it's got that very yeah.
I can totally see that being an influence.
It's not too dark in its color palette. It's not too underexposed as well. Although Fincher does like his underexposed films, as we see in Fight Club, the king of being underexposed.
He doesn't. Yeah, he's very fine if you get all that grain up in there. It's sort of nice and gritty.
It's right. It is a great waste of potential because it's a young filmmaker really in his kind of more creative phase. Really, I think Fincher's actually settled down a little bit in his later years, and you see these very wonderful visuals in parts of the film. But I also think other parts of the film are quite flat, which is it looks like maybe the not the right take was used, maybe it wasn't set up properly. But you mentioned the canteen scene where she sits down. That's very flat compared to other bits of the film. There's certain parts, you mentioned the autopsy, where it's a bit hastily shot. It almost is being lit like a TV show in bits of that, especially with like the jam, which makes me think you're right that it is a bit of a rushed pickup.
Yeah, I know they went through a lot of effort to how can I say? They went through a lot of effort to try and get that through. The ratings were really unhappy with an autopsy of a 10-year-old. And they did a good job. You know, I'd say it's easily in my top 2 films with a 10-year-old having an autopsy and then being cremated. You know, makes it
nice.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Can't say I've ever seen a film with a 10-year-old being autopsied, but there we go.
We will get to one eventually when we cover the fantastic Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
Oh, nice.
Or possibly not. I've wanted to do the Chan-wook Park Vengeance trilogy, but I kind of wondered if you do the 3 Vengeance films too close together, does it just get too samey? Maybe we need to space them out. I don't know. Yeah, so I think some of the flatness is going to be just working against censors or the studio getting in and messing with a take.
Maybe
Andrew Wolford, the other one, is Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance from Chan-wook Park. Very underrated. He made it before he made Old Boy. And if you liked Old Boy, you'd probably enjoy it. It's a much slower paced film, but it's still really good. Sorry, Scrump.
I was going to say, weird question. Have you guys ever done what is it? The Wicker Man.
Ketamine.
That's it. That's a film that I rewatched relatively recently. That I forgot how like slightly indie. Like I forgot how much of an indie film that was. But I don't know. That's just a random tangent of what I've been watching.
I haven't. We haven't covered it on here. I love it. I would love to. I actually. I can spoil. Who cares? The Wicker Man is in my abortion messages in horror film video.
Ah.
I will leave you to guess whether you think it is a pro-life or a pro-choice one. I know that's going to be one where people are just typing like reach. But
I
damn
don't think that's
it,
a reach.
we'll see when I justify it. Yeah. Tailed. I know you said you haven't seen it in a while. You've hopped on, so I don't want to just like pounce on you. Is there a thing similar to the canteen that you remember not really working for you that sort of stood out?
Other than the entire film as a whole, no, not really. No. When Scrump said he didn't mind the bits where they're running about the tunnels and stuff like that, to me that was the boring bit, to be honest.
Yeah,
it was just kind of predictable to me, and yeah, that's as you said. I just kind of jumped on. I haven't seen it for a long time, but I just seem to recall going, "Oh, they're running around tunnels again." It ended up being like Scooby Doo or something rather than an alien film.
It does get a bit repetitive, but there are, I don't know, that's when the film feels like it maybe might start know what it's doing for a little bit, and then it does meander. Some of those bits also look great, as we're seeing now as well. Some of the grimy kind of pursuit bits. It's weird because when stuff's happening, it's not the best. Like, when the film's a bit more pacey, it doesn't quite know what it's doing, as we talked about with Ripley's schizophrenic character. So it's kind of a toss-up, really. It can either be stylish or boring, or like fast-paced and like schizophrenic. It doesn't really have many gears in between.
Well, another thing with the tunnel running bit, I just couldn't get my head around what the plan was. I get they were trying to lead it somewhere, but I couldn't fully get where. And I just didn't believe they were trying to run around that much to try and trap it. Because surely you just take it to where that piston is, and then when we got to that piston bit, it's like, oh no, we missed it. It's dragged it away. Don't worry, we've still got 5 minutes. And I'm like, did you think the alien was going to stay there for 5 minutes? What?
Yeah, I did want to ask on that, because when you said you liked that stuff, Scrump, I was confused. Like, I liked the way it was shot. I liked the idea, but I found in the assembly cut, I did find like we were doing it for so long, and I was getting really confused about where everything was going. It really confused the heck out of me.
There's too much of it in the assembly cut. I mostly just like how moody it is. But yeah, it's one of the visually nicer parts of the film, but it's not one of the most plot-filled parts of the film.
Yeah, it's one of those weird. Sometimes you can take a gamble with trying to confuse the audience or disorientate them, and it can work well and leave people sort of a bit confused, disorientated, and then you can hit them with a surprise. But if you just straight up confuse them, they sort of start to drop out, and I found myself saying, what the heck's going on? Although I did really appreciate the warm-up speech for it, for their plan, especially with my nice refreshing bottle of Coke in my double Y correctional facility. Why was Coca-Cola sponsoring this?
Well, that's what it's like. Oh, we get rarely supplied. It's like, still get Coke though. Do you?
This is just one of those really odd little things that just I couldn't take my eyes off the Coke bottles.
Yeah, one character thing I did like about this film is that this assistant warden guy kept getting called 85 by a few of the members, and he hated it. And I'm like, oh, that's neat. I like
there are some nice little character moments like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Which they call him 85 because that's his IQ, isn't it? Basically, call him an art.
Very brief.
Yeah.
There's the other issue with both the assembly cut and the the theatrical and all the cuts in between that we've been exposed to, is that they're all terminally a bit too long. They all have ideas that don't quite flesh out, and this film could have been at least a bit more bearable as it came out. If it was a bit more brisk and was maybe a lean, like just over 90 minutes, maybe.
I like this sort of conversation. So where would you sort of trim it and put pacing in?
We talked about the tunnel scenes. I'd make the tunnel scenes a bit more brief and feel a bit more brisk. I'd get rid of the autopsy stuff, even though it belonged, they couldn't get it past. I'd make that a bit briefer, just because there's not really much going on. They've had to cut out like the gory bits, so having a bit of it and having a bit more, it's a bit mysterious. You don't really see much. Rather than I'd cut out the romance, possibly. That feels very tacked in.
Essential. It's essential that she shags the first ginger doctor she meets.
That doesn't. It's so jarring in the film. There's a bunch of other stuff that doesn't really go anywhere. Anyway, I'm just trying to think here. It's mostly you. There's just scenes that feel too long. It's not that scenes need to be cut out. It's that certain scenes need to be shorter and snappier. And I don't think it could be fully saved in editing, but there is a leaner cut of this film that leaves people a bit less baffled, even with the all the material cut out that's in the assembly cut and restored in the assembly cut.
So what you're saying is we need a scrump cut.
It's funny that the studio goes in and messes with the film so heavily, and it's still 2 fucking hours long.
What about Snyder cut?
Go total race on it. Just you can do it.
We need Snyder had nothing to do with this film, but we need a Snyder cut anyway.
We need a Snyder cut.
In the assembly cut. So the thing I noticed was like that first hour is absolutely painful. So like Ripley's she should be driving it, but for the first hour she really doesn't do much. I might be a tiny bit off on the timing, but I think it did literally take them an hour to get to burning Hicks and Newt's body. Sorry guys, absolute brain fail there. I think it was pretty much an hour for them to get to that. And she's just sort of slowly going around, tension build. Okay, very nice work, building very nice. But she's really slowly doing this. Like she checks out Hicks, then we have the autopsy. She eventually goes for Bishop, and it's sort of, it feels like you could have some real economy there. Like a simple thing would be that the prison just burns Newt and Hicks' bodies straight away, and she sees the funeral, and then she realizes, well, I'll never know what's happened because they burned the bodies, but Bishop might know. So she only goes to speak to Bishop and try and get his account of what happened.
Yeah.
The other thing that might help, something I noticed, and I'm sorry, this drove me crazy. So remember the big first plan is to burn the alien out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get this lovely scene. It is quite set up quite briskly. Massive fire explosions. I believe the theatrical cut kind of uses this massive set of explosions when the plan fails to basically say a load of characters died when they disappear from the edit. But eventually this plan succeeds, and they do, after some, the loss of one person, a sacrifice, they get the alien trapped and locked away. Okay? So that's good progress. That takes until 1 hour 23. That's when that happens. And then bloody Paul McGann lets him out.
Bloody hell, Paul.
Right?
Yeah.
He was looking for the TARDIS.
The retardis. Anyway,
Wow, that's not family.
Well, I'm not allowed to say the N word. We're allowed to say.
Okay.
Wow.
It's a whole new word. It's a compound. Okay. My problem here. So there's so much effort gone to do this setting up of the fire trap, and someone bravely sacrifices themselves. So much effort to get the alien locked away. 1 hour, 23 minutes into the film. When does Paul McGann let the alien out again? And I'll
52nd minute.
Oh no! Wait, it goes back in time. Gosh darn!
Absolutely. Why not?
1 hour 28. The alien is in there for 5 minutes of film time, and then is let out again. It's like it's
Sounds
too
like
close. It's too close. You know.
Sounds like the Crystal Maze.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. God, the Crystal Maze. It smacks of bad writing, bad editing, and bad assembly of the film. Really, that happens.
Mm.
And yeah, a lot of that stuff. It's like, oh, we'll trap the alien. Oh, we'll let it out again. Oh, there's so much like weird stuff, and I know like Fincher inherited the project, and it was a complete mess, but. I guess he never had the chance to rectify any of this because it was given to him in a bad state and then it was taken back off him again. And there's so many like rudimentary mistakes like that in this film, and it's amazing that this film is actually at all bearable to watch. Which I think I still think it's at least worth a watch for people because it's at least an interesting failure. It's a stylish failure, but it is that there are still so many like fundamental problems with this film. It's amazing it was released in the state that it was.
Yeah, I that's got to be a function of just like the fact that they are scheduled so far in advance for release. Like we are signed up to get our movie into cinemas on this date, so gosh darn it, we better have a movie ready for then. I mean, can we blame it on that?
No one
for a
would have
bit?
watched this. Nobody would have watched this film if it wasn't an alien film.
Well,
As in part of that franchise is what I mean, rather than just any old alien.
No, I know what you mean. Well, it's like the reason people watch new Star Wars. They're only watching it because it's got the name Star Wars. Whereas, this film's probably like given quite decent reviews, but it's a really bad film, realistically. So what does it average? 46%. Well, that's actually worse than I thought it'd be. But it'd probably be even lower if it wasn't an alien film.
Hang on, is that Rotten Tomatoes?
That is Rotten Tomatoes, which I know is useless. But
is that critic score?
I imagine so. I'm just looking off Wikipedia. So.
Oh, okay. I want to know the audience score for that. I'm intrigued if you want to look that up, Harry.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good summary. We covered a film a couple of weeks ago called Broadcast Signal Intrusion, which was really similar to this in that it looked really good, just beautiful, loads of effort gone into making inventive inventive camera angles that really help the storytelling. Very good performance by Harry Shum Jr. But ultimately, there were so many insane bits of weirdness in the script that you were like, did no one ask you about this? Did no one say, wait, what are you doing? You know, that makes no sense. Why would this happen? And it really had that feeling of this needed to be looked at over about 3 more drafts so it would actually make sense. And you would think for Alien 3, you'd kind of hope someone could have done that and just said, why go to this massive effort to lock the alien up if you release him in 5 minutes? Like you've got to switch it up again. Like have another way of building the tension or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess what the audience score for Alien 3 was.
I can see it, so I'll let everyone else guess.
22.
I don't think people liked it. 30.
It was also 46%.
Yep.
Oh.
They've lined up with the critics in a rare event.
Absolute betrayal.
Yeah, they both say, "Oh, it's meh."
Now what? Now what do I do?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I rely on the audience score to show the critics are wrong, but gosh darn it. I mean, 46. I don't know. I don't want to completely chuck this in the bin. It's like it's more of I like the idea of it's a mess rather than it's a total failure. Like there could have been a good film in this.
Yeah, I think it being a mess is probably a better descriptor than a terrible film, because, like you said, there's potential. This film did have potential. I just think the risk they took at the beginning by just completely undoing everything that took place in the second film, just as soon as that happened, I kind of tuned out from that point.
It's just amazing that this film was rewritten 5 times and it still feels like a first draft.
Who was it who mentioned the Terminator problem? Was it you, Scrump, or
it was me, just in terms
yourself,
of
sorry.
It's some things have just some story setups are just they've got really limited opportunity. Like Terminator, 2 films was basically all you needed to do, and you've really kind of done it. And every other film has just repeated that formula.
I mean, essentially for me, right? Terminator. What was the latest Terminator that came out?
Dark Fate.
Dark Fate.
Yeah.
That is basically Alien 3.
I was going to say, because don't they start that film by killing?
They start the film off by killing John Connor.
Just after Terminator 2,
just after Terminator 2. So it's like, okay, well done, you've undone everything from the second film, which was arguably the greatest film in that. Well, not arguably, undisputably, that the greatest film in the Terminator franchise. Well done. Yeah, this Alien 3 is did it first and probably did it better.
Well, it feels like they tried something other than girls get it done, which is, from the sound of it, what Dark Fate is. Having said that, the only Terminator film I've ever seen is Genesis.
What?
Wait.
No, come on.
No. Certain films.
Haryan, shut up. No way.
I knew that would get that reaction.
It's more of the hypocrisy. You're always getting on to me for not having watched films.
You've seen 3 films.
I've seen all the Terminator films except for Dark Fate.
I do need to watch.
Thing is, I don't think the Alien franchise actually does suffer from the Terminator problem, though. Like, Alien on a prison colony, on a distant penal colony, good premise. You can't really fault the premise.
We
so
did earlier.
Well, it's as good a premise as you're going to get for a third Alien film, I think.
I guess so, but I always made. I don't know if this is what the Terminator thing you're talking about is, but the premise of the first Terminator is pretty much the same as the premise of the first Alien, and then the second one, which comes along about 6 years later, is as good as, if not better than the first one, and is more an action film. So I always made those parallels, even when I was growing up. I don't know if that's the thing you're talking about, really. But
it's just the whole thing with the Terminator syndrome is that there's only limited things you can do with the premise,
right?
Because it's a bit of a closed loop. Once you get to the whole Judgment Day John Connor thing, you can't really go much further with it. Honestly, I think there's a film that I've noticed has been discussed in this before. Is like the Star Wars universe is very limited in certain ways. They keep forcing things out of it.
I don't even agree with that. The problem with Star Wars is that they're constantly just trying to remake Star Wars Episode 4 and 5. That's what Star Wars has been suffering with recently. And then when they actually try and go out and make something else, like the Bounty Hunter stuff with the Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, it's still like, oh, we're bringing back in Luke, by the way, or we're bringing back in Yoda. It's like, stop. Just give me a story. Like, get away from Tatooine. We've had four series based on Tatooine now. Stop it.
The problem is when you nuke the expanded universe in favor of the films and whatnot, you kind of Disney kind of shot themselves in the foot by doing that, because there's a whole plethora of stuff that they could source from, and they've just gone, nah.
Well, they could just make something new.
Well, they could do, but come on,
please.
They're not going to do that, are they?
No. It's a problem with endless sequels as well, isn't it? No one really wants to take risks anymore. Everyone basically wants to try and make Frozen in their universes. Let's put women. Well, think about it. The new Star Wars. See, it's like put women first, be anti-men.
I will say
all this crap.
Alien 3 is more interesting than like an Alien Marvel film would be.
Yeah.
It's at least it's trying. It's failing. It fails, but at least it's trying to do something. At least it doesn't look like every other film we have now. I think honestly that Alien 3 being as, I guess, intriguing as it is, even though you're right, it did make me tune out the first time I watched it when I realized that all the character development from the previous film had been thrown in the bin. But it's intriguing enough because films were differentiated enough at that time. If anything, Alien 3 is a good reminder that even really quite bad films for the 90s are still better than many of the top line films we're getting now. At least visually, well, even just purely visually.
Yeah, I can go for that. Just in terms of trying to stay positive with this. This is a gamble that someone took. It could have been. It could have easily been just let's repeat Aliens. That worked. Let's do it by the numbers. Make it a bit friendlier, up the comedy, etc., etc. They could have done it. This is an attempt to have a vision. This is doing something different. I kind of like that idea. Like Ripley didn't need to be in this. The idea, Haryan, that you said of Weyland-Yutani have got their hands on a specimen and they just decide to test it on a facility.
Yeah.
And you see the chaps just improvising traps there, like the world's most twisted Home Alone sequel. I'd go for that. Yeah.
Well, literally, you can, have Ripley as a cameo, like going back to the corporation. They're like, oh, Ripley said it did X, Y, Z, and it's actually doing that or something.
Well, they could have also had it that like Ripley, like Newt could have gotten frozen like before them and had grown up and had
I was just
basically
about to
been,
say
like,
that, yeah.
brainwashed into forgetting what happened, and like Ripley and Bishop get put on this prison colony basically to shut them up, to get them out of the way. When they release this Xenomorph. And that'd be a much better plot. You have like the Weyland Corporation in the background, basically using this as a testing ground. They're using it to get rid of their dirty laundry because they think they finally got it to work, in quotes. And you could have, it would also mean that Ripley being a bit sidelined during the introduction would be kind of cool because she could be brought into the film, not as a surprise, but you wouldn't quite know when she'd enter. That'd be a good kind of suspense rather than her meandering around in the background. Her just like being conspicuously absent until like a grand introduction in the narrative. Again, there's so much more that can be done with this film, and it just feels like everyone involved was just trying to get their head down and get something on paper for this set release date. Because it had been at this point 6 years since the previous Alien film, and at that time in Hollywood for a hot franchise, that was a long ass time.
Yeah, the longer production cycles and gaps between sequels is really interesting to sort of contrast with how it's done now, where your sequel will pretty much come within the next 2 years.
Well, you
Or
have to
20
remember
years
back then,
later.
obviously, it took 3 years for things to come out on video back in those days. So,
Oh, good times.
Huh.
Sorry,
Harry's
just
like,
when you...
what's a video?
Sorry?
Haryan's like, what's a video?
VCR, never heard of it.
Haryan sat through my lecture on the BBFC history of the 1980s, so if he doesn't know what a VCR is, I've failed completely.
WTF is burning a CD. I'm a
VCR is
zoomer,
not.
bro.
Moving more towards the end, I was just wondering, when we actually do get Weyland-Yutani coming in, why is there a guy with a camcorder?
Because 90s.
Well,
It's a future camcorder. It's from the future.
Yeah. It only shoots porn.
I just wondered, by any chance, is this an actual crew member? And they dressed him up and they said, look, we need angle coverage on this, but we'll dress you in costume so it doesn't matter if we catch you. Is that a really weird theory?
I mean, that would be quite a creative way of slipping a cameraman in.
Maybe,
it's the wrong type of camera, though.
Darn it.
I guess they'll be recording to like get evidence of what's been going on, or get information on the alien, whatever. I don't know. I don't think it's What I found weird was that the idea of the corporation was we're going to send the guy who made the androids
Oh yeah.
to try and get a trust, and I'm like, how does that? Why would that work? What?
Terminator 3.
Why would you even try that?
How did they know so
Terminator
much
3.
about her relationship with Bishop?
Yeah.
as well?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is how would they know? Their only knowledge is that she had a really bad experience with an android, and then I think they
Oh yeah.
wouldn't have any information from how things were with Bishop. So
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just discovered a plot hole.
Yeah, basically. And another thing that got me is in the first film when she's frozen for like 50 years before she gets found, and she flies through core systems there as well. In this one, it's not, you're not exactly told how long she's been frozen, but from this implication here, because he looks a few years older than the android.
Hold on a minute. Yeah.
She's barely been flying then, and it's like, what are the odds that she lands on a planet within a couple
What are
of
the
years?
Yeah, rewind that back as well. Like, because it's the same android in the first and second ones. Yeah, like you said, it's a 50-year gap, and mate, what's this guy eating?
Yeah, because he's like, oh, it's an updated one, and this guy, because all he says in the second one is we've got inhibitor chips now, and that's the only real difference. And
Yeah,
we've got one look exactly the same, being like, oh, I designed them, by the way. It's like 50 years ago, really?
yeah. What?
Why would you make them look like you as well?
Narcissism.
It's a really weird.
You know if Fauci, for example, made robot doctors, he would make them in his image.
Oh God.
Oh, is that what we're getting? EMHs that look like him?
Basically.
Yes, please state the nature of the medical emergency. We're back on Voyager again somehow.
We could switch over to like Fauci cab if you want. Just do the whole Robert Picardo gamut. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, apparently this is Wayland. So they decided to send basically their CEO to a prison colony with a xenomorph running in it.
Well, he's not even a CEO. He's the chief designer of androids. It's such a weird person to send.
It is a bit bizarre.
Again, the reason why I sort of was sort of shouting Terminator 3, as you were saying, that was because again the whole reason why they sent the Arnie model back was because of the personal, like the connection he had with the second one. Again, Alien 3 doing it first and maybe doing it better, but I think it's just because, it's someone that she would recognize, even if she wouldn't personally know them, at least like visually she would recognize them and perhaps be more inclined to trust that person, even though he is acting shady throughout the entire conversation.
Yeah, he may as well come in with a sign saying, I am being deceptive.
I know, right?
I do look. I do like how he looks. So,
again,
the design is cool. We always love a bit of Lance Henriksen.
I'm not sure how I feel about the armored like militia though that they bring in. I don't know what to describe them as. Like the kind of the armor just looks weird to me. I can't really describe it more than that.
They look a lot like what you'd see on like TV shows. They look a bit cheap. They're a bit underdesigned.
Yeah, because you kind of expect armor that's not too dissimilar from the Marines you saw in the last film, but these ones just look like robots with like massive backpacks, and you're like, why? It's just they're a bit over prepared for a jail facility that they should know doesn't have any weapons.
I think they wanted to give because what they're wearing these white, effectively they look like medical coveralls. I got that feeling like they're trying to give the idea that they're there as basically they're there to cleanse.
Yeah, but they end up looking like it's not white. That's like sandy colored. Weirdly, they look like sand people.
Is it just the lighting he is coloring them? Jawas?
I don't.
Yeah,
they have like beige elements on them though.
Yeah,
they look like there's this. Oh, I can't really put it anywhere, but I'll link a still that I'm looking at currently. I'll let me.
it felt
Do you
out
want
of
to give it
place.
to me on Discord, and I'll
I'll put it in the chat sidebar, private chat sidebar here.
Cool.
Give it all.
It's the only thing I'd say in the film that looks out of place in an Aliens universe. Because obviously you've got the doctors in there that aren't wearing too much, and then these guys have like a massive metal full helm with goggles, and it looks like fireproof suits.
They look like sand people. All I thought every time I see them, I can't unsee sand people.
Yeah,
this is a bit of a Mad Max kind of color.
Weirdly, I'd misremembered that. I literally watched it 2 days ago, but I'd got it in my mind as they're wearing a lot more white, and I pictured them as this kind of disinfecting, sterile vibe. But okay, no, you're right. It's
they're like kind of
ramshackle
sand people, like just thrown together garbs.
You're right. They're cross between like Mad Max and sand people. It's bizarre.
And they've got these really futuristic pulse rifles. That when I mean, obviously, as we know from the last Aliens, they fire caseless explosive ammunition. Yet when they shoot a guy's leg, it doesn't blow his leg off.
Endless Mad Max. I'm telling you,
What
Alien
a
3
day.
was ahead of its time.
What a lovely day. I need to watch that film again.
We brought up T2 a couple of times.
Mm.
Just like, this might be daft, but oh gosh, where is it? Apologies, folks. Do you get T2 vibes?
Yeah.
Yes.
It came out
I always
1
thought
year
that.
before. You know, just saying, it came out 1 year before. Not entirely impossible.
I mean, given how much of the film is shot with the same color palette, I think
Possibly,
I found this scene a bit weird as well. It felt like the furnace was a lot closer, but she kind of goes into she looks like she goes like Team Rocket blasting off.
Yes.
You know what I mean? She goes like tiny.
The ending has always it's always been bizarre because it looks like she's falling too fast. The effect is weird. It's not realistic. Again, it kind of looks like something you'd see on TV almost. It's jarring. I always thought it looked terrible. It's funny because it's one of the more. It's supposed to be the climax and the most meaningful film in the meaningful scene in the film. Sorry, but it really is kind of ruined by how odd it just looks so off kilter. I could never get over that. I think that's really when I first saw it. Finally ruined the film for me, because it does have interesting bits, but I like I actually kind of like the concept of that, of the finality of can't be no more sequels, fuck you, until they bring in Joss Whedon as another Axeman. Bit of a foreshadowing about what would happen with his career, but he brings her back, but this is supposed to be the end of Ripley. It's supposed to be the end of the series, really, and I like that idea. But the way it's done is just so janky. It just looks so visually wrong. When the rest of the film, its standout feature is that it looks visually really good. Apart from those, brief moments of CGI.
Yeah, we should also not skip over one very important thing, which is this ending of Ripley changes in a very significant way between the assembly cut and the theatrical cut. Go on. So TCG, you saw when she jumped in, you actually saw the alien queen burst out of her.
Yep.
And that is not in this version.
What?
Oh, really?
That only happens in the theatrical cut. So
is it the dog? Does the dog appear?
The dog comes out. Bork.
The dog comes up to piss in there just to really cement their stance on Ripley's character.
God, the lens flare.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. J.J. Abrams would like to know your location. But do we have a stance? Do we like the alien queen bursting out or not bursting out?
I prefer the queen coming out.
I think I prefer it without.
I think it needs a little bit of schlock.
Wait.
I think it needs a little bit of, it's gone a bit schlocky. It needs a little bit of ending schlock. I think members of the audience, it feels like it's slightly patronizing the audience, but I don't know. I honestly think it's better with it there, just as as a final kind of at least a bit more going on.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I found it interesting, like when it comes out, you know, she sort of holds on to it, almost like she's cradling it like a baby as she goes down. And I mean, the xenomorph had already been like gestating for way longer than what we've normally seen in the films anyway. So I think, I think it's sort of fitting that it would sort of poke its head out and be like, "Yay! Oh shit!"
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's because it's a queen. It takes longer. I guess could be the logic.
Maybe,
But something that gets me is, how did the queen impregnate her?
Well, that is, how can I say, a massive plot hole. That there's not really a good explanation for it.
It's an immaculate conception, obviously. And that's why she's T-posing.
Well,
Jesus.
Is that what we're going with? It's alien Jesus.
It's alien Jesus, and that's why she's T-posing as she jumps into the lava.
I mean, it's like
save us from our sins or something.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like bees, because bees will once they. I only learned this the other day, but what happens is when they lay their eggs or whatever it is in their little honeycombs, depending on how long they gestate, determines what type of bee they'll be. So, like you said, taking longer may produce a queen. So that's probably what's going on there. They'll essentially form a cocoon, is what the bees do, and then they'll turn into the required thing, whether it be a worker or a drone or like another queen or whatever. But so that could have been the case here. Old Poochie pops out. It's like, right, I need a queen.
I think the main problem is just how they even get a facehugger into the shuttle. There's
that. But again, you know, wasn't that the same problem with the first film as well? Oh no! What am I talking about?
No. There is more time for the alien to get in. But, just like on the difference between chestburster in or chestburster out, I kind of prefer the chestburster coming out. Not only because, as you know, I'm a disgraceful schlock-hungry gorehound who has no standards, and I love the claret everywhere. But also because it gives a very different feel. Like, she knows it's coming out of her any second, so she doesn't have a chance. And she knows she basically does have to take action now or it won't stop. Whereas with the Fincher version, where she doesn't have that pressure because the chestburster isn't coming out, you just get this much more melancholy, probably even nihilistic feeling. Nihilistic might be too far.
No, I think someone in the chat mentioned it was quite a nihilistic film. It was Brucey T.
Yeah,
mentioned it. It's got major nihilist tones, which is quite fitting because of the year that it came out.
Yeah, it's very 1992. It's very David Fincher. It's very Nine Inch Nails. In that sense, I've just been looking at like the biggest grossing films of 1992, and 1992 was possibly one of the most 90s years of cinema.
Oh, was it?
Well,
read them out. What do we got?
You've got Batman Returns.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You've got Lethal Weapon 3.
Nice.
Reservoir Dogs.
Sister Act. Yeah.
Nice.
Have you that? Is it Reservoir Dogs that year?
Was that 91?
92. No, it was 92.
I'm curious. I'm Googling.
No, I think it was later.
92.
Oh no, it was it
is 92. Yeah, you got Reservoir Dogs. You've got Wayne's World.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Of course, the film that has been most widely edited now, Home Alone 2: Lost in New York, with the removed Trump scene.
That's such a stupid thing, man. Like, some people are so petty.
Got Aladdin.
You got Candyman.
Yes.
Oh,
You also have the Seagal classic that I rewatched recently, Under Siege.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
So,
Tommy Lee Jones is so unexpected in that.
He is.
Why is he there?
Well, there's other films as well. Apparently, Beauty and the Beast was still grossing very heavily that year, even though it came out earlier. That's kind of a testament to how big that film was. But yeah, Alien 3 was the 27th highest grossing film of 1992, sandwiched between Unlawful Entry and Hook, which I actually have a strange affection for. I quite like Hook.
Oh, mate, Hook, what a film.
It outsold the original Beethoven film with the perennial big dog film that went on for like 7 entries or something stupid like that.
Yeah, there is a strange number of films in that franchise. Like how do they keep putting them out? It's crazy.
It also managed to outsell the JFK film, which is like 4 hours long, but also incredibly based. It's
Oh, nice.
Guys, I'm going to have to drop out just now, but thanks for having me on.
No worries, Tail. Good having you on, man.
And one time I'll be on for a sort of proper one when I'm actually invited rather than just gate crashing.
No worries. Good having you on, man. I'll message you about stuff we got coming up.
Cool. All right. Take care, everyone.
All right. Cool.
Pleasure, man. Take it easy.
All the best. All right. Yeah, it's. I don't know. There's some like nice remnants of like the wholesome family stuff, but you do start to see that the very sort of 90s nihilism, grungy, sort of rejection of the standards coming in.
You get some of the like some real 90s staples there though. Like, oh man, Batman Returns is so good. I like Batman Returns. But it's kind of, it was a bit of a, it wasn't the most stacked year, but there was a lot of, you know, very memorable films there. There's a lot of films that people will remember now, which is, it's relatively rare in a single year to have quite a few memorable films like that. So it did have stiff competition, but I guess the fact that we're still talking about it means it must have had some impact. But
I mean, it's slow paced, but it's not boring. It's not forgettable. It's not a sort of disposable film. It's
a film that's basically saved by certain scenes being really well shot. Basically, I mean, even Ripley falling into the furnace, that's pretty memorable, even if it is pretty tismy.
Well, I mean, it symbolizes the end of the franchise, isn't it? I mean, that alone, well, supposed end. There
was never a good Alien film since.
Yeah, which you know was probably a sign, wasn't it? But,
I don't want to sound like I'm asking to be spoon-fed a formula film, like just give me the next MCU but with xenomorphs. But I do kind of wonder: do you bring a character back just to do this to them? You know. I just kind of want a better arc for them than that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have just left it as literally. It would have been fine just saying Sigourney Weaver went off and lived happily ever after with Newt. That would have been fine. While aliens are being, pesky elsewhere in the galaxy.
Oh, Alien, you do such silly things.
Oh, you and your fights with Predator, honestly.
Oh gosh, I just sad to say I did watch that in cinemas, toned down as it was. Oh gosh.
That was a great game of Alien versus Predator, though. So I'll take that.
Oh dear. Are we in a place where we could use some closing thoughts? And scores?
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right, lovely.
Who wants to go first? Then I'm not going to go first.
I
go
have.
First.
Okay, yeah. Go on, Haryan. Go on. You lead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as we've gone through, plot of Alien 3, very, very bad. All over the place. Instantly, any fan of Alien is just, they're showing this film, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the cinema they just walked out when they see, oh, remember all these great characters from last time? Yeah, 3 of them are dead. We're gonna keep Ripley, but she's not gonna act like Ripley for quite a while, and then we're gonna have an attempted snuggle with her. She only really turns into Ripley about an hour and a half in the film. The rest of the time, she's basically there to give dialogue on what an alien actually is. The rest of the prisoners, about 2 of them are interesting, and one of them dies halfway through. Yeah, they can't decide what to do with the alien in the chase sequences. The CGI is messy. But as I say, the main good parts of this film are kind of a few character moments, especially with Charles Dance and Ripley. And also with a few of the prisoner interactions. That's kind of some of the saving grace of the film, but it's really not that much. Plus, obviously, shots and cinematography. It's pretty disappointing. I was going to say this a bit like, the original Star Wars trilogy, where the first 2 were great and the third one's a bit, it's all right, but has great payoff. This one, I really like Ripley's death scene. The rest of it was terrible. Basically, needed quite a bit of work, I think, because you got the sets. The plot just needs massive work, really does. So, bearing all that in mind, probably about a 4 out of 12 burgers.
What? You grade out of 12?
Oh yeah, we do it out of
yeah.
12. We got stuck doing this a long time ago, so it's always out of 12 burgers.
So there you go.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to let the cat in because he has strong opinions.
Meow. Is this the evil cat?
It's the derpy cat, I think.
Come on, Kleiner.
I love that she talks to the cats in German.
But why? She talks to the
cat
chickens in English and the cat in German.
The cat only speaks German, that's why.
Yeah.
Okay. I sorry, I should have got up the closing screen earlier because I thought this really encapsulates that weird sort of nihilistic, depressing vibe of just like, yeah, we've closed off the project and we're selling it off as scrap. It does feel like there's a bit of sarcasm in there,
Yes, it does.
Like this is what they've done to the Alien franchise now. We're scrapping it.
It's been scrapped. We struggled to make this film. My closing thoughts. I think it's an interesting watch, if only to identify what could have been and to see a few stylish bits. There's half a good film in here, maybe 4 or 5 good music videos. Because that's what Fincher had been doing partially up until that point, I think, as well, because that was one of the heydays, stylish music videos. But it's maybe a 7. I'd maybe give it 7 out of 12 burgers, simply because it isn't a boring watch. It's at least enough to keep you engaged. I actually have a lot more affection for this film than a lot of people do. I think it is an intriguing failure, but at least it's intriguing, and it's not bland. No matter what its other issues, it is a film that has a little bit of that early Fincher sheen to it too. And I think it's at least worth a watch, even just to like study part of its flaws. It's honestly one of those films that should be shown to people in film school to say this is not how you make a film, but also this is partially how you make a film. As we've gone through here, it's at least given us all good ideas.
Yeah, it's sporadically interesting, as Red Letter Media put it. It's the film version of the Homer Simpson makeup shotgun. I think it's how they put it.
Yeah, I like that. It's what's like. None of us came out of this as like massive fans, but none of us walked away with just no impression of it. I think there are bits in here that we all respond to, and like, I wish they'd done this. It really does get you thinking and engaging, and that is so much. That puts it so far ahead of a lot of stuff. I mean, I know it's really easy to say, stuff coming out these days, but for serious, stuff coming out these days that is too workshopped and just too worked over. Like we said Marvel, but that's a perfect example. The directors barely get to direct them. They have to hand off the effect shots to one department. The fight scenes are handed by another, so they're basically left doing dialogue. And it takes a very strong director to try and give any kind of flavour to one of those films.
Yeah, and that can really work even, because I've recently been watching Pirates of the Caribbean, and when it came to the second one with Davy Jones, all his animation was just a completely different studio focusing
Mm.
all on the CGI. But you can work around that because they came up with new technology to actually have the actors in the scene in mocap suits rather than filming, Johnny Depp and all that, and then going to another studio to do all the motion capture. So it really made the film work. So there's ways around it, but as you say, it's all direction by committee now, which is very annoying.
I just want to say I never thought I would see anyone reference one of the key evil dentist horror films, Dr. Giggles.
Oh, we got Dr. Giggles reference.
You surprised me, chat. Yeah, gosh. Unexpected
Well done.
Glenn Quinn fans in the chat.
Good work there, Margaret.
Margaret, I'll let you in. In the planning document for this series, there was an attempt to shall I do a specific phobia arc, or because I didn't quite have enough for a full evil dentist arc, and I thought people might get sick of it. But I felt a weirdly common phobias arc, based on insects, dentists, and clowns. But I never went with it. And Dr. Giggles was going to be in there. There's also Brian Yuzna had The Dentist and The Dentist 2. So I could have done a trilogy.
You could really, really tenuously work Little Shop of Horrors in there, but
What a film!
Yeah. TCG, how about yourself, sir?
Yeah, I agree with Scrump in that this is an intriguing film, if not executed quite poorly. For me, aesthetically, it looked nice. It's an interesting location. The CGI was a bit dodgy, but you have to bear in mind it was 1992. It was still very much quite a recent thing at the time. And obviously Jurassic Park came out the following year and absolutely smashed out the park. So absolutely. But in terms of the actual makeup and effects, I thought it was really good as well. The storyline failed quite heavily in places. Some of the plot holes that were discussed earlier as well, what with Lance Henriksen's character, mentioning that kind of breaks the film for me, because the guy should be well into his hundreds by now, surely. For me, the tone was kind of set from the opening scene. I sort of said to you guys privately earlier that knowing the way they open the film and how it undoes everything from the second film, which was, as I say, nothing short of a masterpiece, it really sort of put me off. And by the end of it, I was just kind of meh about it. But that being said, I'd still recommend it to some. I'd still recommend it to people to watch, just to get their own sort of opinions of it, and essentially just to complete what should really have been the last Alien film that Ripley was involved in, at least. In terms of scores, I'd probably say 4, 5 at a stretch. I'd probably stick with 4 though, out of 12. No cheese, not really warranted. A dash of ketchup though, because there was some blood in it, and the beef will be dog meat because I saw the theatrical version.
Nice.
Fair play. Yeah, I can see that. So a couple of 4s, got a 7. It's a bit low. I see the rationale. Yeah, I mean, I'd echo what you say. I think I like at least that this was not just cookie cutter. This was an attempt to do its own thing. I just struggle with what that thing was, and if only they'd taken a few more times to take a pass at it, and maybe the studio back off would have got something that could have solved a lot of the issues that we've talked about over the course of this.
Yeah.
I think the decision to do CGI is just, they probably should have known, but that is a choice they went with. They should have known it wasn't going to look that good. My big problem, I find the issues with the plot quite fascinating. I always like something that actually gets me thinking about how it works. The biggest problem I had is just that it was such a downer. And I might get mocked for this, but I found they swore too much, and I found it really distracting. And I would have liked it if they'd said fewer bad words.
That's another 90s artifact, I think. In that swearing was a little bit more relaxed on screen. So they just, like a kid who's been told they can eat sweets for every meal, they just went for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found it so distracting, just like, guys, chill, please. But yeah, it didn't help. So it had an unpleasant feel. It's kind of like how I find Michel Haneke really interesting, but I just really struggle to watch him because of the really unpleasant tone.
He's a potty mouth, basically.
Yeah. Code Unknown, Cache, Funny Games, which we'll get to fairly soon. Very good, but really hard to watch.
You can't see it, but I'm recoiling.
Fair play. Sorry, Scrump, you were... Oh, I didn't even give a score. Score is probably about 6. 6 burgers, good amount of ketchup, no cheese, thank goodness. But yeah, I can't really go higher than that, to be honest. Scrump, were you going to say something?
I was going to say that the 90s trend of swearing to be cool was something that South Park made fun of very heavily, actually. There was a lot of like self-satire in that about the whole issue of like especially when you got into the late 90s, it got so blasé. They did the whole arc where someone's going to say shit on TV.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like 200 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that a little bit, but I don't know. That's my final thought. It's very much a product of its times, and I think that makes it even more interesting to me. I think I like this film more than the film warrants, if you get what I mean.
We have had that many a time on here. Like I have talked about the standard Tony Todd modifier, the Toddifier, instantly plus 2 points for any film starring him. I am very easily pleased.
It's like my affection for the Leprechaun series.
Really? Oh wow!
Oh my!
It's just, I don't know. I think they're like weirdly charming films in some ways, especially once you get into the later ones where they're just getting off into the bizarre weeds, like Leprechaun in the Hood.
Oh no hate! Like sometimes you let a horror series just do its own thing and just like, I'll make another one. They do wander into some really weird, fun places.
It's like how I actually have quite a lot of affection for Jason X, because it is like what would happen if you made Friday the 13th like a space-themed Limp Bizkit video. It is the new metal horror film, and it's kind of a fascinating aspect of its time, but I'm rambling.
It also it did meta really well, like the sort of fourth wall breaking horror. There's a scene in there, some of you amongst us I'm sure will remember it, but they go into effectively the holodeck that is recreating a simulation of Friday the 13th films to distract Jason. And it's just this brilliant, very wink parody of what the films are like, bubbins and blood and all. And it's just so funny.
Sorry to detract, but Mima quite rightly points out that there's not as much cursing as there was on The Wolf Among Us.
Yeah, that was a very scary game, I've got to say. Well, there is one other thing that I should ask. I think we might end up with a little bit of a break before 2000s horror, sci-fi horror. I think I need a little bit of a break from it. So we might do 2 arcs before we go back to that. But do you guys think we should cover Alien Resurrection, or do we just?
I think we should.
I think we've got to do all the Alien films, all the Predator films, all the Alien and Predator films. This is going to become an Alien and Predator channel.
Oh,
and then I'll go on my channel and play the Alien and Predator games.
Tell you what you should watch, which is kind of interesting. Have any of you seen the 2010 film Predators?
No, I have not seen with Adrian Brody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the one with the autistic kid with superpowers?
I don't think
Is that
so.
Dreamcatcher you're thinking
Kind
of? Maybe?
No, it's the one where it's on the alien planet.
Okay.
Oh,
I haven't seen it.
I
Would
think
you
I have.
recommend?
It's kind of a weirdly interesting one because it's not bad. It's one of the, I think it's the only thing in either the Alien or Predator franchise within the last like 25 years that has been in some way good. So it's kind of interesting for that. It's also not a particularly high budget film, but in kind of a good way. It was made with a little bit of like leanness to it.
Yeah. Was it Robert Rodriguez directing?
No, it was a guy called Nimrod Antal. I'm looking it up now.
Really?
Yes.
That's what he's going. Okay.
He's a
Okay.
Hungarian film director.
All right. It just caught me out. Fair play. Fair play. Okay.
He did the film Vacancy, if you've ever seen that.
Oh, the Alicia Cuthbert torture porn. Interesting. Okay, I am intrigued. Okay, I'll give that a go. Well, we are close to wrapping up, I think, because we can actually get out ahead of Super Nanny's limit and buy some good graces for next week. We already shilled at the start, Scrump, but is there anything you'd like to shill? Because
nope.
Oh, come on. We love you, stuff.
I have nothing to
I'll say, Scrump, you want to shill my you want to shill my channel?
I will shill Evelyn, who collaborates on my channel, currently has a GoFundMe going because she's trying to get some flights because she's won a scholarship to the Mises Institute. So
nice.
I'll
put it in the description.
Yeah, I'll send you the link here.
I will get that in the description. Evelyn is a very smart cookie, and she should get to the Mises Institute because it's well deserved. I mean,
it's her Disneyland.
Exactly. Brilliant. Yeah, I'll try and get that in the description. But also, folks, if you on the off chance that you don't know Scrump already, you want to hear more from him. He did a really interesting stream with Evelyn called The Infinite Council Estate, which was really interesting about housing in London. I really enjoyed that. Oh God, yeah. I was horrified, but I enjoyed it.
It's a lot of people seem to get horrified by my content these days, but not in a fun way.
No, you're doing the good stuff. All right. Well, we are still on Super 9's good side, so I will do the last little reminder because I want numbers, guys. I want numbers for this one. I'm so pleased with it. It's one of the weirdest ones I've put together, but I think you will all like it, and hopefully I can even find the screen cap I have for it. Got it. Okay. I'll remind you that Thursday we are back again. I am premiering this. I think all the copyright claims will be done, and if not, sod it. Let's have a laugh. We're premiering this video. It is an hour long, and it is covering pro-life and pro-choice messages in horror movies and how they use very different symbolism, done in very much my inimitable style. I think you guys will enjoy it and spot some fun Easter eggs in there. So I will see you on Thursday, hopefully. I want to reiterate thanks to Scrump, Haryan, TCG, and Tailed, who is no longer with us, alas. But we'll hope you join us again.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed this. I love the perspectives. And thank you, chat, for keeping it nice and lively. Much appreciated. And I will leave it there. I hope you have a good night. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.
Drillers.
#show gang.